Let's do this.
Welcome to the very new episode of Ask Aashish guys. And after a long time, we're recording back in our studio. And the topic that I want to raise today is it's been about 6 months that I've met Aashish, and one thing, the one recurring thing that he keeps on telling us about is his investment deal that is going on for his company right now. And I've seen him frustrated because of that, because there are some setbacks that he faced during March and a few days ago, and it has been getting on his head, and I want to talk about that subject and find out some insights about that subject. So Ashish,
Yep.
can you elaborate the issue?
Yeah. I wanted to raise this topic today also, like Chiti's described. I've been telling these guys since the last 6 months is once this deal happens and I'm through with this project, then I have some more time to engage in this podcast and what I want to do here also. But that never came in the last 6 months, and they've heard about two setbacks I had to go through recently in the last 3 months. And the setbacks came due to certain changes in our FDI laws. That's the topic today, and the reason I wanted to start season 2 or at least get this new studio in motion by raising this topic. I was waiting for the right moment because I had a conversation with my my business partner in the Netherlands a week ago, and I knew that there was some kind of a feedback also coming from their end. So I wanted to only raise this topic after that article came out, and that article has come out in today's Kathmandu Post. It's written. You all can go. I think we'll put the link in the description also. So that gives you a view of how it not just has frustrated me as the receiver of the investment, also somebody that is willing to make the wants to invest in Nepal in a company like ours. So even that frustration is equal in both ends. It's not like it's just me upset because I didn't get the money or something. That is not the case. The article's out. Do read it. And the reason I wanted to touch upon this today specifically is that because I'll have to take you back to 2014 when I got selected for Rockstar Impact. And when I got selected to that program, all 10 companies like Divesh has been here, some of my Rockstar alumni have been here, Prathana and Sazal were in one of the accelerators post Rockstar. So when I got selected, all 10 of us, all the 10 companies, we were pretty skeptical because in our country, to believe that somebody would put money into a very infant, early stage startup company, and that too from a foreign country would come and do that, it was something unheard of. None of us believed it. And it took me some time, but I became a believer, and I invested myself in that project, in that program. I worked on my business case, I polished that business case, and I thought at least this is an opportunity, because I had been to local banks so many times. I don't want to take the names, but the same banks that would accept all my deposits but won't give me a loan.
Okay.
Yeah, and I understood this scenario very quickly. I was in Rockstar in 2014, means I'd already been in my business for 2 years.
Yep.
So after 2 years, after creating some kind of traction, showing the market that there is a customer base for my product and service, people believe in our brand, building an image in the market, which is I'm a credible business person, still the banks wouldn't believe, And the only way I could fund any of my projects was to go and ask collateral from my parents.
Okay.
And I had already done that in the early stage, and I had somehow managed to pay it back, but I was left with no option but to do that. So when something like Rockstar came, or any business accelerator, has I think few business accelerators run in Nepal right now, so that gave me an insight that hey, there's another avenue for funding. And when I became one of the first earliest cases to receive funding from a platform like that, it just also validated the fact that it is possible. And I did it myself.
It also encouraged other people who were trying to
Exactly.
get information from foreign.
Exactly. And I hear that from my peers, from my entrepreneurial community as well. A lot of people came to know about me because of the investment deal.
Yep,
because I got publicity, It was all over the same newspapers that were writing
You
about
were
us.
actually the first person to get some that kind of investment.
From that kind of a platform.
Yep.
Yeah. So that all I had opportunity to also go and pitch in front of a larger audience of investors that were looking at Nepal
Yep.
as a place where there are people with hunger and drive like us, and they wanted to invest in us. And I got an opportunity to pitch in front of them. And one of the things I said there is that don't just look at this group of 10 companies, there's so much talent and there's so much hunger and drive in Nepal that if you open up this door, this floodgate of investing in small and medium enterprises, more will sprout in the future. In the next 10 years, maybe this could be the best way to form alliance with so many other countries because we already have cheap labor. We already export our labor to Dubai, Qatar.
Yep.
You could bring that back here. We could create industry. So that's what I was motivated to. I was really motivated by
Actually, that started a new startup bubble in that
Nepal.
area.
Yeah. I think the beginning of the whole startup bubble. Yeah, definitely.
And now something has happened that has bursted the bubble.
Yeah, in some ways it
So
is.
what is the actual issue that has caused it?
See, let me conclude the earlier point is,
Okay.
so this opened the door
Yep.
for non-conventional funding for startups,
Yep.
which is now you didn't need to just go into a bank. You could actually go into these companies, show your business case, prove that you are a legit business case that is investable, and these companies would connect you to these investors.
Yep.
Or you could do it on your own by pitching, they give you the platform to do it. So I saw this as a opportunity for so many other youth in Nepal also after me. And that's exactly what I said in that page. Some of my colleagues can attest to this, that I went on stage, opened the event, and the thing I said is, don't just invest in me or my friends, there's more in Nepal. You guys should come to Nepal, see Nepal, and allow this, and then, the legal system should allow this to blossom in Nepal.
Yep.
That's what I had said there. But the bubble was created, and then I think there's more success stories after me. There's at least 10 or 11 investments made through One to Watch alone.
Through that avenue.
And there's a few other companies that have opened up similarly,
Okay.
that provide that kind of service and expertise and guidance and connecting to investors and eventually connecting you to the investment fund as well. So that environment was just starting to build up, but then the recent changes happened. And I'll tell you the story of how it happened, even though the article describes, because I think that's written exactly about our investment deal. We were working on a business proposal that had a lot of ambition, a big ambition, but we wanted to take it in a step-by-step way.
Okay.
Because an investor only wants to invest once they see traction, they see execution, they see results. Then they wouldn't mind investing even further if they see that momentum is there. Like we talk about the case study of Amazon, it only became profitable after 12 years, 13 years.
Yep.
So, those people that have built businesses, they understand that. That it takes time to get to that position where now it's automated and it's one of the biggest companies in the world. So looking at Nepal, somebody wants to invest here, but they don't want to take a huge risk, because SMEs, startups are highly risky. We've talked about the stat that they normally fail within the first 3 years, 3 to 5 years. So once you cross that threshold, they may be a little more comfortable investing in you. So what this recent law has done is that increase the threshold of the minimum investment to 5 crores, which is $500,000. And when I started, when I got the investment, this was actually only $50,000. 2 years later, it became 1 crore. And now it's gone up to 5 crore. So let's look at it in this way. Anybody looking at Nepal as a potential investment opportunity, looking at certain companies, now has to put in a larger chunk of money, meaning more risk. And normally investments come in trenches also, with milestones. Like even in our startup here in itself,
Okay.
I keep telling you guys that let's take it quarterly basis, or every 2 quarters we reassess, check our milestones. Have we reached somewhere?
Yep.
Maybe that is in terms of numbers of store, number of subscribers, number of customers, whatever it may be. So it's sort of like a safety net for the investor, where if you can bring in the money in smaller trenches, then they get to work with you. I give you X amount of money, and then you promise me that you would be at this point by this many years. And if you deliver, then you have a chance of maybe raising more capital. But now this is put a full stop to that, unless that person is willing to put in $500,000. Also, another case I want to describe is exactly described in this article, is that we worked towards a business case that was very big, but we broke it down into like a 10-year plan, sort of, by taking it one step at a time. So we only wanted investment for our phase B of our expansion plan. So we didn't have a lot of room in terms of, or flexibility in terms of equity and all those things. So we decided it would be ideal to take a loan from one of the directors in my company. And first, it took me so long to create the platform for the investment, which is the fundamentals of the paperwork, the foundation for the business, being ready to scale up. So that took me some time, and then getting into the paperwork, which was almost 3 to 6 months of my time. Not just my time, my team, my money, effort.
Is it because of the bureaucracy?
Yeah, I mean, for 6 months we dwelled upon this, and the Department of Industries gave us approval as well.
Okay.
On, I don't know the exact date, it was I think Fagun 7, 2075, we got the approval somewhere down there. And on Fagun 9, the law was changed. Right when the summit, the investment summit happened, a law came in that said that now a director in a company, if that's a foreigner, cannot give a loan to its company. And we pivoted after that. And like all startups do, or all businesses do, is if you face a setback, then you find a different strategy and you go a different route. So we went a different route, which is it was more risky for my investor to bring in the money through preference share because of certain terms and conditions that apply to that kind of funding, that tool. But he agreed. He still wanted to help us, so he agreed, and we worked on changing the paperwork. While I was on the tour with you,
Exactly.
I was hoping to come back and sign the SPA. Then I come back and then I hear this rule again. And now it puts us in a position where we're so unclear, I've talked to lawyers, I've talked to experts. The interpretation of the law is also all messed up. Somebody's saying something, somebody's saying something. The government is investing so much money into advertising and publicizing the fact that Nepal is investable. But when somebody is trying to make an investment in Nepal, it's telling them, you got to bring in more money, buddy. This is not enough.
So this means that a small startup like ours won't be getting any foreign investment unless we ask for more than 5 crore rupees.
That's what I described is my first question to the Nepal government is, what is the logic behind this? Because if I worked with a lot of startups, I worked with a lot of small businesses, majority of our people are at the bottom of the pyramid.
Yep.
Somebody that's educated, somebody that's got a degree will find a job, they'll find somewhere nice to work, they'll do something, they'll start up a business. But it is the SMEs, the Gharelu Udyogs and the small, medium enterprises that create the jobs for these bottom of the pyramid people.
Yep.
Ones that are not educated, doesn't have the enough opportunities, doesn't have enough skills and expertise to do something on their own. So we are the ones creating the jobs. And there's data out there that already shows that jobs created by multi-million-dollar huge investments, let's say mega deals, for the lack of term. If we look at the data, it says that the mega deals in the last 5 to 10 years has created, let's say, 4,000 jobs in Nepal.
Yeah.
But the smaller deals like ours and other SMEs has created twice the number of jobs. So it does seem more practical to bring in small size investment into smaller companies because they have a direct impact at the bottom of the pyramid people. Bringing in a big fund to build a hydropower definitely has impact on Nepali infrastructure and economy. But then it's not probably felt by the bottom of the pyramid people right away, because we put money in hands of people. We provide jobs. And we, everybody does. But what I'm saying is SMEs are backbone of a country. And majority of SMEs that I've seen do not require 5 crore in their first 5 to 10 years of their life cycle maybe. So this is not a scientific decision. As in, it only encourages big investments to come in. But it is telling the small enterprises to remain where you are. Don't dream big. Because if you dream big, you're not going to find the funds. Why? Either you sell your property, you go bankrupt, you find your parents to risk all your houses and your properties. If you can do that, then stay home.
So does
You know,
it mean that if they have created a threshold of something like a big chunk like 5 crores rupees, has the government thought about creating an easier platform in locally to get invested by the companies?
yeah, like that. Let's get into that. If I was talking about this a little while ago, which is if the government has like the government changed rules, that's not a problem, but people that are going to be affected by the rules should be notified, or at least a public discussion maybe, or if media could come up with something like that, like if somebody publishes a news 6 months ago saying that okay, now the Nepal government or the Department of Industries Finance is working on bringing on these A, B, C, D, E changes to the FDI laws, then we could prepare ourselves accordingly. We could change. Here it happens on a drop of a dime,
Whimsical way.
and in a very a surprising way, like a shock.
Yep.
A shockwave comes, and we're like, okay, now you can't do this, it's banned. So a lot of other rules also I'll describe is when I was very young, there was a rule about even the pillion in a bike wearing a helmet,
Oh,
a
yeah.
second helmet. That's a great law.
Great law, exactly.
Where the hell did that law go? Because we make laws without thinking,
Without thinking.
without doing the homework necessary behind it. I just heard some days ago that 111 bills or something were passed, and none of our representatives in the parliament even read it. One of the representatives has come to Dilbhushan Pathak's show and admitted that they just signed the goddamn papers without reading
Don't
it,
read it.
without understanding how it affects us. So let's get to your point, which is if they had told us that, hey, we're discouraging this small investment because we want to, let's say, focus the SMEs, or we want to push the SMEs into using more of our own fund.
Yep, local.
Go to the local banks. They will help you. Or the government will provide you. They already have shitload of money in the treasury doing nothing. They won't do anything, and they won't let anybody else do anything either. That's the kind of message that I'm getting from this is. But let's say if I want to go today, I have a business case right now with me. Will any bank or any financial institute in Nepal fund me right now without me providing them with a substantial amount of collateral?
Collateral.
No, they won't. I've already gone to a bank. I've shown them that I have X amount of asset, and the offer that I got was less than 10% of the total asset. So why should I put all my asset into risk if I'm not even getting enough money to do what I want to do in terms of in context of my business plan? So it's just about finding these small peanut investments locally and growing my business maybe one tidbit at a time. I don't want to do that. I have big dreams. Maybe a lot of young people that are watching this podcast will understand what I'm saying, but the older ones won't, because we have audacious dreams, but we take 3 steps towards it, and then our government tells us to go 2 steps back, and our government is going out of its way. I don't want to just sit here and criticize the government. I just want to wake them up to understand that, understand what you're doing, how it impacts us. Just like the Guti bill some days ago,
Exactly.
had they just did homework on it, study it a little bit, brought all the people from the, the stakeholders into one table, discussed it, and then went into passing that law, or at least a couple of days discussion in the parliament.
Yeah.
I watch all the discussions because it affects me. Whatever I can watch, I follow it. I would have at least raised some questions. But what I want to say is the PM goes out of the way, the government is going out of the way and announcing to the world. PM just visited UK, where he told all the diaspora community there, the youngsters there, to come back to their country. They're not going to come back with this kind of banana republic shit all over the place.
Banana Republic.
So I'm definitely pissed off. The reason I'm pissed off is because it puts a cap on my growth.
So the whole problem has been created, but there has to be a solution. Can you suggest any kind of solution to the government? Suppose they are not willing to take that the rule of downsizing the threshold of 5 crore rupees. What else can they do? Like providing easy local funds, something of that kind of manner.
Name me. Okay, I will say it in camera.
Okay.
Just the government itself has admitted that the finance minister went into the parliament and admitted that the Yuva Swarozgar Fund
Yep.
program has failed miserably. And his point for the program failing was that nobody came to take it. Really? I what I believe is, I see the labor minister going signing deals with Mauritius. We're only interested in selling our young people to other countries for shit money. Fuck, I'm pissed off, man. Anyway, for shit money, man, and that's not fair. It's my belief that small businesses change build up our economy. Nepali people don't need ships and trains and
Cable cars.
jumbo jets and cable cars right now. Lower the prices of the food, give us free Medicare and education for kids. That's what people want. I think the government, my suggestion to the government is it should focus on what's important right now. If it really wants to rule this country for the next 5, 10 years and win another election, then they should have focused on the priorities, which is lowering the cost of living of Nepalese, raising their livelihood standard. What is our current per capita income? We're not focused on that. And we hear, that's why I hate going to social media. This is like all I hear is people I was hearing the Prime Minister's talk yesterday also in one of the programs that he has sponsored. I think he has sponsored himself. Because Mr. Monos never asks him real shit questions. And he's just selling this dream to people like rails and पोखरासम्म रेल आएपछि त बागलुङ आइपुगिहाल्छ नि. Come down to the reality. People that have voted for you are living in a much different situation than where you find yourself right now. I don't want to specifically comment about the law. They can do whatever the hell they want because I've cancelled on the deal. And I'll find some solution. I'm not worried about myself. I'm worried about guys like you, bhai. Where tomorrow if you build a company and somebody, let's say your mama, your uncle, your brother that's made good money in USA, UK wants to invest, now he has got to belt out $500,000, otherwise he cannot support you. Pranav was here just talking about that point, right? Which is, unless we start supporting each other, which is, let's say my brother sees my business as a golden opportunity to make a good investment. Now he's got to come up with a lot of money. But let's say you started a small tailor here. You're doing really well. You're making good money. You're supporting a couple of people, and you're looking for fund. You don't have the capital, land, and all those things. Then you may be able to find a solution in your brother or your relative that's outside, and try and bring in that money. But now 20,000, 10,000, 50,000 is not gonna happen. And then even this could have gone in a stepwise way, which is from 50,000 to it went to 100,000
In a gradual way.
in a gradual way, and then maybe it could have gone to, let's say, 200,000, and then the government could have got the feedback from the startup community like this and made necessary amendments accordingly. But then this whimsical changes scares the shit out of everybody, and the whole article is about that. There are so many people that want to help Nepal because anybody that steps into this land is immediately connected to this place. Nobody goes out here hating this place. That's my experience. Not even just in business case, also in terms of tourism. We know this. People love coming here. It's already there's something about us that people love, and they want to help us. But our government is making rules in such a way where those partnerships, those friendships, those avenues of connecting people. We live in such a connected world. We're talking about Facebook coming up with a currency. Instead of liberating this economy, it's actually trying to put a fist down and tell people what to do. I think one thing I want to say is the only way for any country to grow economically is to democratize its wealth, its monetary systems, where I want to transact with you, I should have full freedom. As long as I'm not doing something illegal within the parameters of the law. If I'm not doing something illegal, why does the government need to step into and police everything? The government's job is to only create an environment where those partnerships can thrive. So that's it. You can definitely say that I'm very frustrated because of that. because I was such an early case study for this, I always believe that I was already at the forefront of this wave where whatever I do will help other young people. The whole reason I'm doing this podcast is also the same. I want to share knowledge. And in future, maybe I could have also helped people like you, more entrepreneurs that are watching. I've already done that in interpersonal ways where, younger entrepreneurs come to me for advice and, help and, how did you do this, Dai? And so that's why I started this. But I hope this was helpful. It was definitely a little bit of venting for me, but I think the government should note that SMEs are the lifeblood of any economy and democratize the wealth of this country. Only then it will go forward.
That's all for today.